Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. Today, we have a little bit of a different programming. We have a candidate spotlight, and today's spotlight is on Demitri Fierro. So welcome, Demitri.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be on here today.
Of course. And, when you and I were talking, we were talking about the job hunt and how hard it is to get someone's attention. And so this video is to just spotlight you and your incredible background. I mean, you are a unicorn of knowledge. So please tell people about, where you started and where you ended up.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and it's interesting for me because I always knew I wanted to be involved doing sustainability work. I just didn't know at the time it was called that or what that looked like. And by that, like for me, when I was in high school, I'm sure like many could relate, trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, who they want to be, who they think they are, etc. And so when I graduated high school, I actually started by going to community college. So about 4 years there, did a whole lot of growing up, working on campus as a tutor. I also worked at a restaurant, so I'd work at school during the week, work night shifts at a restaurant, and all the experiences were just coming together. I knew early on that, as I mentioned, I think beforehand, I have a background, like I did film for a while, acting, writing, some auditioning, like the whole 9 yards. I've always liked storytelling, but I
Yep.
didn't think I was complete just doing that. And I knew I wanted to go to college. School's a big thing in my family. A lot of people from my family, they went to all these great schools and they have their graduate degrees and whatnot. So that was always, I guess, brought up with me, but I also knew I wanted to do it for me. So when I was in community college, I took this class that I'll never forget. It was my first ever semester as a college student, and it was called Humans and the Environment. And then we opened the book one day, and the chapter was like, I think, literally called Sustainability. And I think I just like shook in my chair because I was like, this is exactly what makes sense to me, and I finally know what to call it. And I was
Yes,
like,
it just
yeah,
hit you.
it just hit me. And I was 18 at the time, and I never really knew. I just come out of high school. I didn't know what sustainability, what that really was or looked like. I just knew, okay, I really care about making a huge difference. I want to be other oriented, which this work really, of course, focused on. And I love being technical, but also creative. So, like, can I find that? I mentioned again the film thing, but I love being able to bring that into like something that's considered really technical, whether it's environmental science, whether it's social science, all of that. And it just kind of built from there. So then I went to, I was there for 4 years in junior college. I transferred to what was my dream school. So I went to college in Orange County. I went to UC Irvine. For anyone that's an anteater, shout out, go anteaters. And I was there and graduated my bachelor's degree in social ecology. And it just kind of, again, continued to build from that. I then enrolled into a year at UCLA in a postbac program in sustainability. And I really wanted to use that as a way to deepen the knowledge and get more familiar with like the technical background as well as how I could apply it. My goal was then to figure out, where would this make most sense for me? I started learning that you can use this in government, you could use this in corporate, you could use it in nonprofit, anything. And that's what was really exciting for me. So how could I narrow this down? And for me, at first, I was like, well, I don't know if there's a way to bring this. I still always, a part of me always loved the idea of storytelling still. I did a summer abroad, I should say, studying at Vancouver Film School in BC, Canada for a summer because I just thought it was fun and I enrolled and I got two of my best friends to join me for a summer and we did that and I loved it. It was a blast. And I always thought in the back of my mind, can I bring this together? And so when I was at UCLA, I had a professor of mine. She'd been consulting for like 20 some years. And she took me aside one day and she mentioned to me about potential for going farther, graduate school, as well as how I can narrow this down for me. I told her my story, also where I'm looking at, where my interests are. She told me, well, you can look at business and look at what you feel fits in with your like natural talents. For me, people told me growing up, you're really good at writing, you're good at speaking. She said maybe you can use that and translate that to the world of business and then bring sustainability around that. And that was another moment where just like it hit me. And I was thinking, wow, writing and speaking and all these different things, it's bringing the creative essentially into the technical. So within
Yeah.
the business world, using a creative background and creative interest to apply it in a way that could make sense to a lot of people and could do a lot of great things for an organization. So that was another milestone where I began narrowing down my journey farther. And so from that point, I started, volunteering with various nonprofits, which then turned into actually a paid position. It was actually during COVID where I was already volunteering for the Sierra Club. And I think about 4 or 5 months or so into volunteering, I got offered to be a staff member, a paid member with Sierra Club. So
That's awesome.
as, yeah, as a communications intern. And that was really fun for me. And at that point, I already knew I wanted to go to graduate school. So it was just narrowing it down more and more. And then so during COVID, like the height of COVID, I think it was a year in January 2021, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make this happen. I don't want to put this off anymore. I want to use my time wisely. So I applied to graduate school, and I just finished my first year in my MBA program. This is my second year now. So graduating in May, it's going extremely fast. And I find that really exciting, but also crazy how fast it's going. In an MBA program that really revolves around sustainability and social impact. And I feel like those are rare to see where it's embedded across the board. And I love that I'm able to, every class I'm taking, every discussion is, of course, focused on business, how to improve and run an organization, but also talking about climate change issues, talking about racial equity, social justice, affordable housing, all these different things coming together, and we're discussing it in real time and how that affects business, from operations to marketing to finances, especially to data. And it's just been crazy. It's been great so far. And now I find myself, as I mentioned, second year MBA candidate. Also working currently with the school as a program manager part-time with the school for their sustainability consultancy program, which has been helpful for me, of course, in my career. And it's great that I can balance that with school while I'm still a full-time student. And then as well, being able to be a contributor for, an environmental media organization, where I'm able to marry those two passions I've had for years together. And it's very satisfying to be able to get my toes wet, so to speak, with discussing climate change with people that are involved in film media and what that means to them. So that's in a nutshell where I'm at right now. But I'm very excited for just what's going to come next after I'm done with graduate school.
What are you looking to get into when you graduate?
Good question. As I mentioned already at this point, I think a common thing we've heard so far is my passions for sustainability as well as entertainment, film, and media. So I'd love being able to drive that. I think the entertainment industry is very much in a position of great influence in the sense that, you can really share an inspiring, engaging message to different types of people, different demographics. And I love that you can meet them where they're at. And that's, I think, what's so empowering about storytelling. That's what's always excited me about storytelling, whether it's writing, speaking, whether it's creating graphics, design, all of that. I find that very interesting. So being able to see that is, I think, what matters to me. And if I can do that and bring that, forward in my work, I think that's a very good place to be at, I would say.
And you actually have a very well-rounded background. I mean, I looked up everything you've done, and it's quite impressive. I mean, you've accomplished a lot at a very young age. And one of the things, of course, one of the things, a psychology degree as well. Knowing how people's minds work and how people think, personally, I've learned that that's very valuable to have in the workforce, because then you understand people. And then using that understanding for communication and outreach within the media, within your film school, having that personality where you can just approach people the way you do and make them feel welcoming, and that you're not an intimidating person. You make people feel that you are approachable, which is a very hard thing to accomplish for most people. And then aside, from all of the education and knowledge that you have, but with your work, you've done ESG management and marketing, communications, sustainability analyst, program manager, and a communications coordinator. That's a lot to accomplish, again, at such a young age. So I commend you for everything that you've done. And, you are a class act. So when you graduate, I would love to see you in the world of media, bringing this messaging forward to the general public so we can, so more people can learn and understand.
Thank you so much for that. No, it's very humbling to hear. I really am grateful for that compliment. Yeah, and I think it's, what I focus on a lot, and I've heard this before, people always say to live by your why. And by that, I mean, it's one thing to know what you're doing. It's another thing to know how you're doing it, but it's another thing altogether to understand why you're doing it. Whether it's something as simple as why do we wake up in the morning? Maybe it's going to work, going to school, but then underneath the surface of that, why are we doing these things? What is our goal? How does it speak to our values? What do we feel resonates with our purpose? And I think like that's something that guides me a lot, not just what I like to do professionally, but also personally, whether it's my hobbies, whether it's my circle, close friends and family. I love being able to work on that. And I'm introspective in that way where I like to check in with myself at times and say, are things aligned with my values, my mindset, my goals? Am I doing something that could really also inspire and benefit others? That's a big thing for me. I have people in my family in the mental health field. So psychology degree, I think, was sort of a given for undergrad before really realized sustainability was what I felt very passionate about. And, that I guess I could say has been an advantage, understanding not just how to come across with others, but also how to understand myself and how to be self-aware. I consider it a very important ability to be able to check in with myself and be reflective, which I like to do, periodically. Also, of course, taking care of yourself, having mental and physical health, and a lot has to do also with your community, the people around you. So I'm just always looking at ways to improve myself in all ways. And I feel like you can never stop learning. I think that's what makes being alive exciting. You can never stop learning. There's always something really new to take on and learn from, and someone new to learn from as well. And I feel like that's one of my whys, to be able to continue that, not just in my work, but then just me as a person, right? Me as Demitri.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you're constantly learning. So many people just say, I know enough, I'm good. And I'm the same way. I am constantly burying myself in articles and learning more about what's happening in the world around us. And I love the fact that you do a self-awareness check. That is fantastic. Because a lot of people don't take that time or are afraid to just do the reflection upon themselves. It's sometimes very hard for people. So you are definitely a Renaissance man. I will give you that. You have a lot going for you. And
Thank you.
just to tell the audience, any particular locations you're willing to live in or any particular companies you are targeting?
Yeah, I am born and raised in Southern California. I currently go to grad school in the Bay Area. It's a hybrid program, so I get the best of both worlds, to be down here close to home most of the month, but 1 week a month I go up to the Bay Area to San Francisco, and being able to enjoy, all that the Bay Area has to offer, as well as the friends in my program, which is great.
Oh.
So as someone that is, looking to be involved at the nexus of sustainability, climate change, and storytelling, I do see myself staying long-term in Southern California. I feel like it's afforded me a lot of opportunities so far, and I think it will continue to as I continue to stay here. So my location, as I look out in the future, looks like it would be in Southern California still. When it comes to organizations, I mentioned earlier before, I'm working right now, interning, I should say, with an organization that focuses on just that. And I love that. And I love to be able to see that forward in the next step in my career, whether it's, huge companies like Netflix or Sony, Warner Brothers. Those will all be very, very great opportunities. Or even just at least in a functional role where I can, promote sustainability communications using my marketing comms background to, share, ideas and trends and whatnot and news on climate solutions, on, social justice, those kind of things, I think would still be very rewarding. So those are what stands out to me at the moment, at least for the future.
I love that. I love everything about that. So guys, check out Demitri. All of his info will be provided. He's a wonderful human being and an extraordinary candidate. So check him out, guys. Let's catch you later, okay? Thank you so much. I'm Wendy Nyston with ESJ with Demitri Fierro. Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you.